Hey, so this is an unfiltered, slightly edited chat, a reflective chat really, where I'm gonna focus on one specific topic, and this topic is grief. So the 1st of January, I made the decision to rehome my dog, and making the decision was really difficult for me, but the reason for doing it, I still stand by it and still think it's the right reason. But I think the most important part of my reflection is the grief. Now, in my head, I know this is a dog and he isn't dead, but not having him around has opened up a part of my heart that I actually didn't think I could experience grief to this extent. I have had family members who have passed on and I have grieved their passing, but that seemed to have lived in a different side of my heart, and it hurt in the same way, and I went through the same process of denial, of the memory reoccurrence, the small moments that made such a difference. But then, without my dog being around, it did ignite those same grief feelings. So that lack of routine that I had for such a long time left. The fear of bonding with any other animal in case I'd experienced the same level of pain. That feeling of simply the doorbell ringing and not hearing him bark because he wants to know who's there. All these things made me think of how similar grief can be for anything that we experience in our life that has changed, that will no longer have the future that we had planned in our mind for. So I've had broken hearts and I've grieved those relationships, and that seemed to have lived in another side of my heart. So it's almost like I've got this heart and this side focuses on the grief to do with humans, this side focuses on the grief to do with pets, this side focuses on the grief to do with heartbreak. And one thing that I think that they all have in common is feeling very lost, very, very lost, and almost questioning who am I, without this person, without this experience. What will my future now look like? Because I had planned my future with this person, with this animal, with this experience, with, and it just leaves you questioning and trying to figure out what will tomorrow look like. My heart has been absolutely broken because part of my identity was to do with having this dog, having this family member, having this relationship. And now that it isn't the same, who am I? I'm just wondering if the same people experience this feeling of somewhat a separation in your heart when it comes on to grief, or do you feel it like as a whole piece, like do you experience the loss of a loved one, that same ache in your heart in the same place as you feel it for the loss of a relationship, the loss of a child that has moved on, who has left, is like an empty nest experience where the child is now an adult and moves on. All these things, I didn't associate grief with them. Well, some of them, obviously, but this experience just made me think what else grief does cover. And I'm a Jamaican, or love for dogs stretches from different angles. But this made me think, what other angles is grief actually affecting that we're all dealing with, that maybe I've not thought about or even experienced myself? Because naturally I did think that grief was associated to the death and the loss of a loved one, and not necessarily the loss of routine, loss of a pet that you were looking after, or the loss of a relationship. But yeah, this is my unfiltered thought process around grief. I'm still walking and working through this, But yeah, it would be lovely for you to walk with me.